Welcome to Fitscope. This is Fitscope Yoga. Today I'll be guiding you through a 50 minutes, it's almost an hour, beginner's flow for meditation prep. So I invite you to go ahead and start sitting similar to how I'm sitting right now. So I am sitting on a yoga blanket. I think it's always nice to have a little bit of height under your seat. If there is tightness that happens, it's very common. So if you want to grab a blanket or maybe a small pillow or a rolled up towel or something like that, so you can have just like an inch or two of height, just something that'll make you feel a little taller. Then you can go ahead and cross your shins one in front of the other. What I like to do sometimes is like kind of stack my foot over my calf. So whatever variation feels good for you, and maybe nothing feels good right now because sitting like this is uncomfortable. That's fine. Just sit for a moment and close your eyes and just take stock of how you feel in this position to start with. So trying to sit up tall. So again, you know, it's early in the practice. Maybe it's morning time where you're practicing. I know it is for us. So especially if it's the morning time, there's a lot of tightness in the body. So noticing where it feels tight and what needs to be addressed today. So areas that tend to get tight when we sit in meditation are the frontal hips, maybe the outer hips, maybe the low back, maybe the upper back. So those areas like the spine and your hips tend to get a little bit congested and tight when you sit in this posture. So just give it a couple more rounds of breath. Trying to find relaxation through the body, even despite these little areas of discomfort. Great. We'll start with a simple forward fold here. So make sure your right shin is crossed in front of the left. Right shin is crossed in front of the left. And also just for future reference, it might be nice to have two blocks handy and a strap. We're not going to use them right now, but we might use them later. So just have something handy that resembles a strap and two blocks. So right shin crossed in front of the left. Inhale, reach your arms up to the sky. And exhale, just forward fold over the legs. So no attachment to how far you're forward folding. Maybe your hands are just kind of right here. Maybe they're out in front of you. Just trying to relax neck, face, everything down when you forward fold. And just breathing into where you feel this. Maybe in the outer hip area, maybe in the back body. Start to walk your hands back towards your legs. We're going to switch the crossing of the shins. So left shin in front or whatever you had in front, opposite one. So reach those arms up, get long. So every time that we forward fold in a yoga class, we tend to reach the arms up first. We want to get long, not just in the back body, but in the front body too. So inhale, reach, and exhale, slowly start to forward fold over the legs, bracing yourself with your hands and just forward folding. And see if you can release the arms, neck, face as you forward fold. And again, maybe you're just like right here. It's fine. It's early. Just breathing into where you feel this. Start to walk your hands back towards your legs, coming back up to a seat. So come off of that blanket, please, and come to lie down on your back. So you're coming to lie down on your back. Your feet are flat on the mat. Your knees are bent. And for a moment, you can have almost like a right angle between your thighs and your shins. This is going to give some length to your low back. So arms down by your sides, you're just going to hold this position. You can even have the feet as wide as the mat and have the knees knock in towards one another. So just this neutral position of the spine being nice and long on the mat this way and the knees bent can be really nice for your low back, kind of gives it a chance to kind of lengthen and recalibrate. From here, we'll take this for a brief twist. So bring your feet a little closer together so your thighs are parallel to one another. Now hug your right knee in towards your chest. Extend your left leg out onto the mat. So extending the left leg out onto the mat. So as you draw that right knee in, can you draw the right hip away from your chest? So again, this little action of drawing that knee in and extending through the left leg can really help the low back. Your low back is nice and flat on the mat. Let's take that for a twist. So bring your right arm out to the side. And with the help of your left hand, just draw that knee over towards the left for a twist. And your shoulders are trying to be square onto the mat. I want you to think of reaching your right hip away from your chest. Get long in your right side body. Maybe you turn to gaze towards the right. And gently bring that knee back to center and switch sides. Hugging the left knee in, extending the right leg out onto the mat. And again, as you draw that left knee in, the left hip draws away from your chest. So can you get long in your left side body as you draw that knee in? Let's take this off for a twist, gently drawing that left knee towards the right with the help of your right hand, maybe reaching the left arm out to the side. So again, can you get long in your left side body as you revolve? So drawing that left hip away from your chest. Gently bring that knee back to center. Hug both knees in towards your chest. So a couple of things for the hamstrings, also an area that might tend to get tight when you sit for long periods of time. So bring your feet flat on the mat. You can grab a hold of your strap, please. So this can be a bathrobe strap or a regular belt, just something that replicates a strap. Go ahead and bring your right knee in towards your chest. Hook the ball of your right foot and send that heel up towards the ceiling. So if you have enough length on that strap, you can maybe double wrap the strap into your hands. And you're just reaching that heel up towards the sky. Your spine is nice and long on the mat. Your shoulders are relaxed on the mat too. So you're not like reaching the shoulders away from the floor. You can relax the spine and shoulders down. And for a moment, open up the hip just a little bit. So kind of open up the angle between your low belly and your thigh just a little bit. And then if you want to come into more of a hamstring stretch, you can start to draw that leg a little bit towards your face. The leg is staying straight. You're reaching through the heel. The foot is flexed on that right foot. Then again, can you draw your right hip away from your chest a little bit? Just getting into that hamstring, breathing into that hamstring. Great. Bring both ends of that strap into your right hand. Float your left knee in line with your right, so the left leg stays bent. Your knees are just in line. You're going to turn that right leg out 45 degrees. Just open up the legs out to the sides. Just opening up the legs out to the sides to the same degree. So your left hand can come to the inner left thigh if that helps with counterbalance. You're still reaching through that right heel, just opening the legs out to the sides to the same degree. So you feel this in the inner thighs. You feel this in the back of that leg. This is also excellent work for your low back. Start to bring those legs back together. Plant your left foot onto the mat so the knee is bent. Take both ends of that strap into your left hand. I want you to turn this leg out 45 degrees in the hip socket. Then start to cross your right leg towards the left and your left knee towards the right. So it's almost like you're crossing the legs a little bit. So you might only feel this in the back of the leg. Maybe you'll start to feel this in the outer hip a little bit. Just kind of crossing the legs, reaching more through that right heel. Then take a bend in that right leg. You're going to cross that ankle over the left thigh. Release the strap, move it off to the side. Thread the needle, so flexing through that right foot. Maybe you just gently press the right knee away from your chest with your hand. If you want to go a little deeper and feel an outer hip stretch more, bring that left knee in towards your chest. Interlace your hands behind the thigh, drawing that knee in towards your chest. So again, spine nice and long on the mat. Your outer hip is stretching here, so keeping that right foot flexed, breathing into that outer hip. No sensation in the knees. You never want to feel any pain or discomfort in your knees. Muscular effort is fine. A stretch is fine, but any pulling or pinching, not good. So just back off anytime that you feel knee pain or joint pain. Back off. Gently release that. Uncross the foot. We'll do the other side, hugging the left knee in towards your chest. Grabbing a hold of that strap and hooking the ball of your left foot, sending that heel straight up towards the sky. And if you have enough room on that strap, you double wrap just to make this a little easier for your wrists and your hands. And flexing through that left heel, so really straightening through the leg. You can open up the angle of the leg a little bit, so there's a little more space, like a more open angle between the top of the thigh and your low belly. Just for a moment, just to feel the spaciousness in the hips. And then you can start to draw that leg a little bit closer to your face, if that's available. If you want to get more into the hamstrings, if your hamstrings are pretty tight, maybe that angle is pretty wide, maybe breath by breath you start to bring that leg a little closer to your face. But keeping that spaciousness, left hip draws away from your chest. Gently take a hold of that strap in your left hand. Float the right knee in line with your left. And then turn the leg out a little bit and start to open up the legs out to the sides. To the same degree, right hand on the inner right thigh. Keep flexing through that left heel. Trying to keep the hips even on the mat. So the reason that we use the right leg as well is to make sure that the hips stay even on the mat. You're not like toppling over to one side. You're even on the mat. Gently bring those legs back together. Plant the right foot. Bring both ends of that strap into your left hand. Turn that leg out 45 degrees in the hip socket and then start to cross your legs. So crossing the left heel over to the right, right knee over to the left. Just trying to draw that left hip away from your chest, even here. Maybe feeling a little bit in the outer hip area like the IT band, or maybe just in the back of the leg, just breathing into where you feel this. knowing that you're doing a lot of good work for your low back, an area of the body that tends to get very tight, especially when we sit for long periods of time. And then take a bend in that left knee, cross that ankle over the right thigh, move the strap off to the side. One hip might be different from the other. Maybe you do something differently on this side than you did on the first. You'd maybe gently press that left knee away from your chest using your fingers. And the foot stays flexed. If you want to go deeper, bring that right knee in towards your chest. Interlace your hands behind the thigh. Drawing that knee in if you have a hold of it. Flexing through that left foot. The spine is nice and long on the mat. Gently release the interlace, bringing that foot down, uncross the leg, hug both knees in towards your chest. And again, spine nice and long on the mat as you draw that knee in. Just coming into a little bit of like circling here. So take one knee in each hand, start to move your knees around in circles. So independently from one another, just drawing the knees around in circles. Just feeling that mobility in the hips. Then switch the direction of your circles. Trying to get full range of motion in the hip socket. Great. And this just draw the knees in, reach your left arm up and back. And just rock to your left side, prop yourself up, and come onto all fours. So hands and knees, your wrists are under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Let's do 3 big rounds of cat-cow. So on an inhale, your heart reaches forward, belly towards the floor. Press the floor away. Exhale, round the spine and press the floor away that way. The spine draws up towards the sky. Inhale, heart forward, belly towards the mat. Teensy lift of the very low belly. Exhale, round the whole spine, press the floor away, get tall. Last time, inhale, heart forward. And exhale, round. Just starting to connect movement with breath, warming up through the spine. Start to find a neutral position with your breath. A couple of bird dogs. So extend your right leg back behind you. Curl all 5 toes under for a moment. Reach your left arm forward just to the height of your shoulder. Your palm faces in. Then lifting from the inner thigh, reach that right leg up just to the height of your hip. So you're going for length, not for height. Lengthen in both directions. Low belly lifts. Your hips are square to the floor. And exhale, bring the hand down and the shin down. Extend the left leg back behind you. Reach your right arm forward, height of the shoulder, palm faces in. Low belly lifts. Lift from the inner thigh, just lift to the height of the hip. Reach in both directions. Reach, low belly lifts. Another great one for your low back. And exhale, bring the hand down and the shin down. Let's do 2 more each side. 1 breath, 1 movement. Inhale, right leg, left arm, reach. Exhale, bring it down. Inhale, right arm, left heel, reach. Exhale, bring it down. Remember to keep your hips square to the floor. Inhale. Exhale, bring it down. Last time, inhale. And exhale, bring it down. Bring your knees a little wider than your hips. Big toes touch. Take a child's pose. Forehead to the mat. Arms out in front of you. You can relax the arms down. So child's pose. I want your hips to be on your heels. If their hips are floating in space, take a blanket and bring that over your calves so you have something to rest your hips on. Or maybe like over your heels, just something so you can rest your hips on something. I want your forehead to rest on the mat. And if that's not happening, you can take a block underneath your forehead and have that. I want this pose to be restful. I don't want you to be hanging in your joints at all, so make this restful. And start to reach through the fingertips. So starting to straighten through the arms. So the forearms lift off of the mat. You're spreading those fingers wide. Can you draw your upper arms down to the floor as you press evenly through all 10 fingers? Getting long through the arms. And then move your hips away from your heels, curl your toes under, and shift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. So hips lifting up and back. You can take a little bend in your knees. You're pressing through the fingers to lift your hips further up and back. So if this is your first down dog of the day, first inversion of the day, maybe your first down dog ever, these are awkward. So just know that the first time you do a down dog, it's going to feel very strange. Know that the muscles that you use to stay in down dog get strong very fast. So be patient with yourself. Little bend in your knees. Start to pedal out the feet one at a time just to get into the hamstrings a little bit. Then take a little bend in both knees at the same time. Lift those hips up and back. Little lift of your low belly, your shoulders away from your ears. Shift your weight forward to plank pose, top of a push-up. So you might need to lengthen your stance a little bit between the feet and the hands. Your shoulders are over your wrists. Your fingers are spread wide. Your feet are hips distance apart. That really just means 2 fists distance between your feet. Your heart's reaching forward. Your low belly's lifting. Option to bring the knees down to the mat, and it just looks like this. So your upper body stays the same. So it's not quite all fours, right? Because your knees are further back behind you. Or you keep the knees lifted and get more of the work in the belly. And then exhale, shift your hips up and back to downward facing dog again, shortening the stance a little bit. Hips lifting up and back. So maybe your second down dog already feels a little different from the first. Inhale, shift it forward to plank pose again, top of a push-up, shoulders over your wrists. So nice long straight plank here. On an exhale, bring the knees down, bend at the elbows and lower yourself down to the mat. So the chest and chin touch the mat, your hips can stay lifted. Then on an inhale, move through the arms to low cobra. So you're coming onto the tops of your feet, you're on your hands and your belly and your legs. Inner thighs draw up to the sky. And exhale, bring it down. Let's do that again. So just peeling head and chest, low cobra, elbows back, shoulders back, legs are active, inner thighs lift. Exhale, bring it down. The back of the neck is long. You don't have to crank the head up in order to achieve this back bend. Inhale, peel head and chest. So back of the neck is long. You're not cranking up, right? Your hands aren't doing any work. If you were to lift them, they're not doing any work. It's just upper back muscles. Exhale, bring it down. Press yourself up onto all fours. Curl your toes under. Take another downward facing dog. So down dog is a pose that we visit a lot in yoga, so it will become your friend, I promise. At the bottom of your next exhale, gaze between your hands and step up to that space between your hands as best you can. So maybe you're just walking the feet up and you're just going to hang into a forward fold. So your feet are hips distance. That's really just 2 fists distance between your feet. Your feet are parallel to one another. Just hang here. Take a little bend in your knees and clasp onto your elbows. Gently release the elbows. Now on an inhale, I want you to come up halfway to a flat back. I want your fingers to rest on something. So maybe your shins or your thighs. I want your spine to feel long. Your heart reaches forward. Again, back of the neck is long. And then on an exhale, forward folds. So we're going to do that a couple of times throughout class 2. So on an inhale, come up halfway, lengthen the chest forward, and exhale, forward fold. So flat back, long spine. Last time, inhale up halfway, heart forward, low belly lifts a little bit, and exhale, forward folds. And this time, like you're drawing up through the chest, like you're diving up to the ceiling. On an inhale, circle the arms up to the sky, come up to stand, and exhale, bring the hands to your heart. Great, so you're already at the front edge of your mat. Check in with your foundation, right? Your feet are hips distance apart, just 2 fist distance between your feet, and they're really parallel to one another. So sometimes there's a tendency to turn the feet out when we kind of stand around. I want your feet to be really parallel. It might make you feel like you're pigeon-toed. That's normal. You want to direct the femur bones, your inner thighs and your thigh bones to go back a little bit, and your low belly to lift. It's going to open up your low back, so no more back discomfort with this nice, good stance. Bring your hands to your heart. Gonna flow through some sun salutations. Inhale, circle the arms up, reach up, maybe gaze up. Exhale, forward fold over the legs, taking a little bend in your knees. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches forward. Exhale, bend your knees, plant the hands, step it back to plank pose. Inhale there. And exhale, knees down, chin and chest down. Inhale, low cobra, so hips touch the floor, you reach your heart forward. And exhale, all fours to downward facing dog. Holding down dog a couple of breaths. And at the bottom of your next exhale, gaze between the hands, step up to that space as best you can. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, circle the arms up, reach up, gaze up. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Let's do that again. Trying to connect movement with breath like a moving meditation. Inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches forward. Exhale, plant your hands, step it back. And lower down, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, back bend, low cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Holding for a few breaths. At the bottom of your next exhale, gaze between the hands, step up to that space. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, circle the arms up, reach up, gaze up. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. One last time like that, just warming up the body. Inhale, reach. Exhale, forward fold. You're doing awesome. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches forward. Exhale, plant your hands, step it back. Knees, chest, chin lowers you down. Inhale, low cobra, back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. And from this down dog, take all fours, please. So just bringing the knees down. Just come to standing on your shins for a moment. Just step your right foot forward. It's just like a more accessible way to get into this lunge pose. So you're stepping your right foot forward, then bend into that right knee. And you're going to bring blocks onto either side of your foot. These might be helpful to have something to kind of root yourself on. So lunging forward, your hands are on those blocks. They can maybe be on the floor, but it's nice to feel like your chest is nice and long, open towards the front. Press through that front heel, lift your low belly. Maybe descend a little lower into that front leg. So that frontal hip flexor very often gets very tight in life. So just breathing into that. You'll notice I'm on the highest height of those blocks and still on my fingertips. So I want to feel like I'm really nice and long in the torso. Pressing through that front heel, maybe descending a little lower. And if that back knee feels sensitive, give it like a blanket under the knee, or you can flip your mat over a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of padding. All right. Start to bring yourself down. You can move those blocks out of the way. Curl those back toes under, straighten through the back leg. See if you can step that right foot back to plank pose. Nice. Then bring the knees down, chin and chest down. Inhale, low cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Let's do the other side, coming at it from all fours. So gently bring the knees down. Prop yourself up onto your shins, so you're just standing on your shins. Then step the left foot forward. So that might be a little bit of a balance thing. That's okay. Just root yourself. You got this. Then start to bend through that left knee. So again, if that back knee is sensitive, you want to be as high up the knee towards the thigh as possible. So try to make that like distance between that front heel and the back knee pretty wide. If that still feels sensitive, you can flip your mat just like this. Boop. Or you can bring a blanket under your knee. Your hands are going to start on your thigh. Then bring your hands onto blocks. So I want you to think press through that heel, lift frontal hip points up. So I want you to think like your pelvis is like a bowl. You don't want it to tip forward. You want it to stay upright. So it's not like dumping, lifting. Notice if one hip is different from the other. I know for me it is. This right hip is much tighter than the left. It's our driving foot. So if you're in a place where you drive a lot, that's often a tendency. And can you think of almost an action of like your inner thighs drawing towards one another? Great. And gently start to bring it down. You can move those blocks out of the way, curl the back toes under, straighten through that back leg. See if you can step that front foot back to meet the back foot, plank pose. Knees down, chin and chest down. Inhale, back bend, low cobra. Exhale, all fours to downward facing dog. Holding there. At the bottom of your next exhale, gaze between the hands, step up to that space as best you can. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches forward. Exhale, forward folds. Inhale, circle the arms up, reach up, gaze up. And exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Let's introduce a couple of external poses, really great strengthening poses that are also really good for your spine. So you're going to start, have the feet as wide as your wrists. Like if you were to bring your arms out to the sides, pretty much as wide as your wrists, roughly. It doesn't have to be super wide. I don't want you to feel like you're pulling in the inner thighs. So as wide as your feet can go, like 4 feet usually. Turn your right leg out 45 degrees. Right leg out, I'm mirroring you. So right leg out 45 degrees. Left toes come in. Right heel in line with that back arch. Right heel in line with that back arch. Start to bend your knee, tracking it over the second toe. This is warrior 2. So you're bending that right knee, tracking it over the second toe. And your chest is open to the side. This left hip, it's pointing a little bit towards the right leg, just a little bit. So that means that I'm not squaring my hips completely to the side. My chest is squaring completely to the side, but not my hips. Arms nice and strong, low belly lifts. You're pressing through that front heel. And then start to straighten that right leg. Step that left toes in, just maybe by like a footprint. So shortening the stance a little bit, still heel to arch. Reach through the right fingertips, reach, 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 reach. Just triangle pose. So I take a lot of time just reaching. You can take the L of your hand, put it into the hip crease. I want you to reach those hips back, back, back. I want your left side body or your right side body to be just as long as the left. So reach, reach, reach. And then you can take a block and have it on the outside of your ankle and bring your hand onto a block. Reaching the opposite arm up towards the sky, triangle pose. Low belly's lifting. Now that the leg is straight, you're pressing through the big toe mound of that front foot. Your legs are straight, right? Chest is nice and open to the side. I want you to think like your body is between 2 panes of glass. So I'm not attached to like pitching forward in order to touch the floor. No, I want my body and my legs to be in one line. press through the feet, reach up with this top arm, come out of the pose. Great. And take that block and just move it over to the second side. You can parallel your feet, move that block over to the left. Arms come out to the sides, coming into warrior two to start. So turn the left leg out 45 degrees or 90 degrees. You're turning in the hip socket, right? Then those back toes in 45 degrees. Then start to bend your right leg, tracking it over the second toe so it's nice and open a little bit with that hip. Hamstring coming towards parallel to the floor. I don't want your knee to go beyond your ankle. It's stacked right above the ankle, not beyond it. Arms come out to the sides. Again, your hips are not trying to like get flush to the side of your mat. If anything, that right hip draws towards the left leg a little bit. Warrior two. And if it feels okay for your neck, you keep that soft, steady gaze over your fingertips, the same direction as those toes. Great. That leg is starting to heat up a little bit. You can start to straighten that leg. Shorten your stance by just about a footprint or so. Still heel to arch in one line, heel to arch. So your legs are straight now. You're going to reach through the right fingertips. Reach, 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 reach. Your chest is nice and open towards the side. Take the L of your hand, press it into that hip crease. So your both side bodies are just as long. You're not crunching through the left. Then reach, 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 reach. And then reach down for a block on the outside of the foot, just to encourage the chest to open. There's a little action of like almost leaning back. You're pressing through the big toe mound of that front foot. The legs are active here, straight. Maybe if it feels okay for the neck, you start to gaze up. But if that hurts the neck at all, just gaze anywhere that feels comfortable for you. Low belly's lifting. Press through your feet, reach up with the top hand coming out of the pose. You can move that block out of the way, parallel your feet, arms come down. Just heel toe your feet back together, or hips distance for mountain pose, Tadasana. And step to the front edge of your mat, please. Bring your hands to your heart. We're going to flow once just to come onto the floor. So inhale, circle the arms up. Exhale, forward fold over the legs. Body's a little warm now. Inhale up halfway, heart reaches. Exhale, step it back, plank pose. Knees, chest, chin lowers you down to the mat. Back bend, low cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. And take a brief child's pose, please. Giving yourself whatever support you need, maybe feeling the difference between this child's pose and the first one you did. Start to walk your hands back towards your shins so you're sitting up. Just take another little hip opener here, opening the hips in a slightly different direction. So again, I would encourage you to sit up on something like a blanket or a towel or something. Bring the bottoms of your feet together, please. The bottoms of the feet are going to come together. So whatever variation you want to take of this, maybe the heels are very close to your sit bones, maybe the diamond shape is pretty wide, or maybe it's like crossed between the two. For me, it's the shins are pretty like in line, sort of. You can grab onto the outer edges of your feet, start to lengthen up through the spine. Little flex in the toes. And with your hands on the outer edges of your feet, maybe with the legs nice and relaxed, you start to open up the feet like you would like the pages of a book. It starts to open up your hips a little bit. And Maybe from there you start to forward fold a little bit. If that feels okay for your low back, if it feels like just a little bit of stretching in your hips. Gently bring yourself back up, please. Great. Just for a moment before we continue, you can cross your shins for a moment, just taking stock of the work that you did. Down dog, stretched your calves and your hamstrings. You strengthened your quads. You stretched your outer hips, inner thighs. It's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of amazing things for your spine. And so from here, let's come into a little twist that's really nice for your upper back. So you're going to bring your legs out in front of you, and again, maybe propping yourself up on something, right? So legs out in front of you. This is Dandasana staff pose, so just sitting up nice and tall. Bring your right knee in towards your chest, a little bit of space between your foot and the leg. Bring one block back behind you, please. So back behind your low back. Bring your fingertips, your right fingertips onto that block back behind you. This is going to create a deeper bend in the elbow to really bring your shoulder down and back and your elbow down and back. So your shoulder blade can almost like press into the upper back. Reach your left arm up to the sky, twist towards the right, maybe hook the elbow to the outside of the leg or just grab onto the outside of the leg with your hand, just twisting here. Can you draw your right hip forward a little bit, lengthen up and revolve. Start to gaze forward, release the twist, extending the right leg. Bring the left knee in. And again, left fingertips back behind you. Reach your right arm up to the sky, twist towards the left, maybe hooking the elbow or just grabbing onto the outside of the leg with your hand. Flexing through that right leg that's extended. Lengthen up on the inhale, elbow back and down, revolve as you exhale. Left hip, can you draw it forward a little bit? Start to gaze forward, release the twist. Coming off of that prop you were sitting on, moving it off to the side, coming to lie down on your back, please. So lying down on your back, your feet are flat on the mat, your knees are bent. So I want your heels to be under your knees. So if you were to reach for the heels, you could just barely graze them. It's usually a good distance to have. Arms down by your side, your forearms are going to lift away from the mat. So fingertips point straight up to the ceiling. You're going to do 2 brief bridge poses here. Really nice for your upper back, which tends to get tight when you meditate as well. So inhale, press through the feet, press through the arms. Lift your hips up any amount that feels okay for your low back. I want you to think low belly lifts towards your face. Inner thighs draw down to the floor. Your inner foot is heavy. If you can maybe interlace your hands back behind you. See if you can straighten the arms in that variation. And whether you interlaced or not, I want you to scooch the flesh of the shoulders under the body. Press into those arms, lift your chest further up towards the sky. And if you have the interlace, release it vertebra by vertebra. Come back down to the mat. Great. Let's do that one more time. Arms down by your sides, forearms lift. Fingertips point straight up. Press through the feet. Press through the upper back. Lift your hips up. Inner thighs down. Inner foot heavy. Press into the arms. Scooch the flesh of your shoulders under the body. Maybe interlacing the hands if the arms can stay straight in that variation. Pressing into the arms. Lift the chest up towards the sky. gently release, vertebra by vertebra, come back down to the mat. Great. Gently hug your knees in towards your chest. And just gently drop the knees towards the left, gaze towards the right. Bring those knees back to center, gently drop them towards the right, gazing towards the left. Gently bring those knees back to center. Just hug them in one last time. And as you're ready, extend the legs out onto the mat for Shavasana, corpse pose. Arms down by your sides, palms face up, shoulders away from your ears. Your feet can flop open. You're just lying down, doing nothing. Finding complete stillness as best you can for a couple of moments here. Maybe about 2 minutes. Eyes closed if that feels okay. Begin to lengthen your breath. And start to bring movement back to the body, moving fingers and toes, just moving them around a little bit. Reach your arms up and back. Behind you, reach through the feet. Keep your arms reaching up and back and just gently float your knees in towards your chest. And rock to your left side, holding a fetal position for a breath. Your right arm can rest on the floor in front of your chest. And prop yourself up to a comfortable seat. So maybe finding that same seat that we had in the very beginning. You're sitting up on a blanket. Whatever seat feels comfortable, maybe crossed shins or maybe this like sort of half lotus position that I have. You're sitting up nice and tall and you're taking stock. Close the eyes for a moment if that feels okay and just try to observe what this practice offered you. Is there a little more liberation through the upper back, the low back, and the hips? Bring your hands in prayer at your chest. Bow your head and lift your heart. Just acknowledging the work that you did, acknowledging yourself and really honoring yourself for showing up, for giving yourself this gift. We always end a yoga class with namaste. That's just an acknowledgement of my inner brilliance to yours. Namaste. This has been Fitscope. Thank you so much.